Hello everyone, I am Tacet, and today I'm going to be going over the new Mythic of Yasmin Chosen. She's in Glory Gem Guild and VIP chest for this week only, and then she'll be in the drop pool with all of the other Mythics. But for this week only, she is the only Mythic in the drop pool. Do keep in mind, as normal, she's not in two of the keys. Gold keys, which we'll use on September 5th for the new kingdom, and event keys, which are used next Monday. Both of those two keys she is not in, so do keep that in mind. Anyways, what does she do? Let's go into PvP and go peek at her. Let's not do that one. Let's go with the best one first. Yasmin Chosen, what she does. She deals damage randomly split amongst all enemies. This is boosted by however many of them are entangled. She does entangle off of her final trait, which makes it really easy to get that boost ratio. Entangle every single time she takes a green gem makes it so you almost always use her with a green seer and other troops that end up creating green, but particularly a green seer. They're both from the same kingdom. Their colors work decently together, and it just is an insanely good synergy. Not to mention, green seer also creates an entangle every time it casts, which synergizes even better with her ability. That is a 10 times boost ratio, so if you were to entangle the entire enemy team, you would be doing 40 additional damage per cast, which is a pretty decent amount. And it also then creates 10 green gems. 10 is definitely above average as far as a gem spawner is concerned. Web Spinner back in the day has had many gem spawns in the past, but at one point had a 10 but was nerfed down to 9. But Yasmin does have a 10. She does have a 5 higher mana cost, which makes it slightly harder to use, but she does use a third color, whereas Web Spinner only uses a 2. Overall, Web Spinner, as far as if you just want to loop the ability over and over and over again, is better than Yasmin's Chosen, but there's still synergy with her that ends up making it situationally better than a Web Spinner. Or you can simply do it like this team does and use both of them together. As far as traits, other than the final trait, they're pretty lackluster. They're mainly just additional magic. Magic would normally be good, but she gains very little benefit from additional magic. Only 1 per green on the ally, and 1 additional one every single time an ally casts, which stacks over time. The most you'd ever really get as bonus damage between these two traits is about 10 split damage per cast, which isn't really particularly high. But anyways, let's go into the first battle. As I mentioned, this is the best team I've currently found so far with Yasmin. I've been messing around with her for about the last hour or so, and this is what we've come up with. So let's go move that over. Want to go get the Ragnagord first so we can get that rolling. Once we get the Ragnagord, we can pretty much just snowball like crazy from there. He does have a lucky dragon soul he just got from that. That's a bit unfortunate, but we'll have to deal with it. Let's go and explode a bunch of board. Gets our green seer up, and as long as we have alignment here, do we? Yes, we do. We have it on red. So let's get this team going. Get the Web Spinner rolling, and now we essentially just win. As you can see, the entire enemy team, other than the one that can't be entangled, has now been entangled, and we can just keep looping like crazy. So yeah, that's essentially what this team comes down to, is an infinite loop that just ends up killing out the entire enemy team. One thing to note about this team, which is pretty self-explanatory, is it is ridiculously bad against Freeze. But yeah, you also have 3 times skull damage if you happen to have a fully traded Web Spinner that you can utilize off of first slot. If you happen to not have Web Spinner fully traded, you may want to put it back a slot or two, mainly because you would want to keep it alive. The only reason I have it up front is because, of course, it's nice to have that 3 times additional damage. But if you don't actually have it fully traded, you would want to move it back just a little bit, so do keep that in mind. So let's move into the next one. Another kind of loop-related team, not as good as the previous. This one can also be replaced with things like Web Spinner if you really wanted to and stuff like that. You can also put a Kraken into this team if you wanted to. Obviously, the main premise that this team is rolling off of is the Green Seer Giant Spider combo. So let's go in with that and see what we can do. The Dire Wolf might seem like a slightly odd pick, but there's 2 nice things about it. It automatically gains an extra turn if there's 13 or more green on the board. It also has Entrapment, which is 2 times skull damage when they are entangled. So if you still wanted that skull damage burst but didn't have a Web Spinner fully traded, you could use something along this line. This is also a much cheaper team, assuming you have Yasmin Chosen. This team only requires a common, a epic, and an ultra rare, which is much cheaper than the previous team, especially since these groups don't really need that many traits. The only trait you really need are the first 2 on the wolf, preferably all 3. It is a common after all, and the first trait on the giant spider. That's all you really need to make this particular team work. Because if nothing else, you can always giant spider, even if you don't have her final trait or any traits on her. You can go and green seer giant spider loop until the entire enemy team is entangled, or at least all of them that can be entangled. So you can go that route instead, even if you don't have it traded with this particular team. So it's a little bit more of a budget team of what we previously just did. So we'll just keep moving until we can get something going. We do not use red. I believe that's the only color we do not use. We technically do once the wolf dies, because giant spider creates a little red spider. But until then, we don't use red, and even once it does that, it's not a particularly good use of our red. But early game within this team is just trying to get it going. Once we get it going, we should be able to go pretty good. Annoying wisps. I absolutely hate wisps with a passion. They are so ridiculously annoying. But we'll go and throw that down on blues, get our loop going, and ideally we have it right now. Looks like we should. And as you can see, we're starting to slowly, very slowly, start to web them. So if we were to not actually have a Yasmine fully traded, you'd be able to web them just off of green seer, constantly getting a random web, which is kind of nice. But there it goes, going crazy. As I mentioned before, he does have 2 times skull damage against things that are entangled. Not exactly the same as a web spinner's 3 times, but still a very nice budget version of it. Might as well keep going a little bit. Just get a few more entangles. Oh wait, never mind. Christina can't be entangled. Trying to entangle something that can't even be entangled. So we'll start going with this thing. Similarly, if the first slot wasn't entangled at any given time, we can throw just for free if there are 13 or more green gems. For the most part, we won't really need it. I might throw it on the Christina just because it has stone skin, which is going to prevent us from killing it easily. Other than that, we won't really be needing it much in this particular battle. It's also another way to place entangle as well. That does entangle. So you have 3 different things that entangle. 2 if you do not have Yasmin fully traded. So what do we have here? Let's go and throw this down so we get another green seer. Go and throw this down so we get our mana back and can fill up the board, and then we can just throw our little thing. I think we can get that for free, so we'll go for the poke. Now anything we do to follow up on that will indeed end up killing it. Actually, we can just throw this down again. There we go, perfect. We'll just roll with that, why not? Works, and then we just do that into the skull, and the entrapment will kill it since we do 60 damage there due to the 2 times skull damage. So, yep, there we go. Kind of more of the budget team of the first team we showed. Of course, a little bit slower than the previous one, but a lot cheaper to create. And finally, I figured we'd throw together a full Forest of Thorns. Full Forest of Thorns isn't really something that gets used too much. It kind of works. One thing I was thinking of using too is using Yasmin's Chalice, but I know a lot of you probably don't have that weapon. I was assuming that it would be craftable during the new crafting system. From what I can tell, it is not possible to craft Yasmin's Chalice. Essentially what it is a green-yellow 13 mana cost weapon that gives you HP and armor. It's actually the only thing kind of that's Forest of Thorns related that gives armor for whatever reason. For some reason, there's Rowan and Forest of Thorns, but nothing can give it armor other than Yasmin's Chalice, but a lot of people don't have it, so I figured I'd not show it. This team, we're kind of just going with a double split damage. You can also replace out Christinex and stuff like that, would also work perfectly sufficiently. So we'll go through this down. We do not get the extra turn. I'm really surprised how many extra turns we are missing on some of these battles. 10 gem spawn is pretty decent, but she keeps missing with it. We could go Brown Surge here. I'm going for it, just in case something weird happens the following turn. We'll let it take a skull. It actually gets skull distracted. We'll go throw the Rowan. You could also use Christinex if you wanted to. But then again, it wouldn't be full Forest of Thorns then, now would it? So we'll go through that. We should get the extra turn now. Yeah, we would have missed that as an extra turn. There's a problem. Okay, well, pretty much everything's dead. We don't need to worry about the purple being on the board because we are not using a giant spider. Well, we'll still do it on blue. I know I can swipe there. I'm just going to go for that, though. And, yep, that is matched. So, that is Yasmin's Chosen. It is actually slightly stronger than I initially anticipated it to be. Mainly because it's really easy to underestimate looping troops. Like a looping troop, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But when it works, it can have some really, really devastating effects. You can see that really well in Web Spinner and Elma Grim and basically anything that starts getting a decently high gem spawn and start going really, really crazy. And that is no exception for Yasmin's Chosen. Is she worth getting? Personally, if you can't fully trade her, I probably wouldn't bother. She's a little bit too much of a liability, untraded, to be able to work. Because of course, if she's traded, all you really need is take a couple greens. By the time you get her full mana, the entire enemy team's almost entangled already. whereas you kind of have to go and build out of your way in order to entangle them by other means. So if you can fully trade her, I would say get her. She takes, oh, I completely forgot from earlier. It was 21 brown purple, 21, oh, I completely forgot. It was on the video earlier. During the key opening, we got the exact value. I actually forgot off the top of my head. Sorry about that. But yeah, if you have the trade stones, get her. If not, just kind of skip her. She's not really that big of a necessity. Web Spinner can essentially do the exact same thing that she can do for the most part, just with poison instead of entangle. But anyways, that'll wrap it up for this. We will be doing a stream later, and probably tomorrow as well, or definitely tomorrow as well, where we're going to be going over basically her, just kind of messing with her, seeing what we can do, and you know, just having fun, and going over some more of the stuff of the 3.1 changes. So we'll be doing that today, tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, as we normally do. Anyways, hope you all have a wonderful week. Best of luck with getting those, getting that Mythic if you're going to be trying for it, and have a great weekend. See you, everyone.